Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Has Technology Changed the Way People Learn? I have with me today Lasha Kudare, who is one of our e-learning experts here at Lionbridge. We won't be taking live question and answers, but feel free to put them into the chat during the session, and I'll pass them on to her afterwards for a response. Without further ado, though, let's get started, and I'll turn it over to you, Lasha.
Thanks, Becky. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad you took the time out to hear me speak today. My name is Lasha, and I'm an e-learning manager at Lionbridge. In today's webinar, we will be talking about the trends in technology and its impact on how people learn. The world has changed far more in the past 100 years than in any other century in history. And as Stephen Hawking puts it, the reason is not political or economic, but technological. In today's webinar, we'll talk about the fourth industrial revolution, the need to develop power skills in people. We will talk about upskilling and reskilling, and we will look into the science of how people learn. We'll close with the 5 biggest tech trends in the industry today. On screen, you see how the diffusion of information and communication technology has spread over the last 70 years, from labs and research centers to large companies, specialists, nomads, and finally all around the world. At the bottom, you can also see the evolution of heuristic inspection of user interfaces, from pioneers and researchers to intelligent technology. Like you see, we are on the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution or Industry 4.0. First came the steam and water power, then electricity and assembly lines, and then automation or computerization. In the words of Bernard Marr, a world renowned futurist, the fourth industrial revolution describes the exponential changes in the way we live, work, and relate to one another due to the adoption of cyber physical systems, the Internet of Things, and the Internet of Systems. While we don't yet know just how Industry 4.0 will unfold, one thing is for certain. People with skills to manage organizations through this dramatic shift. As professionals, we need to embrace change and realize that what our jobs are today might be in a not so distant future. Our L&D systems need to adapt, better prepare our people for the flexibility and critical thinking skills that they are going to need in the future. In short, we need a strategic response to changing skill demand and need to look at upskilling and reskilling our people. According to Cambridge Dictionary, upskilling is the process of learning new skills or of teaching people new skills, while reskilling is the process of learning new skills so one can do a different job or training people to do a different job. While both upskilling and reskilling are about learning new skills, the context of each is a bit different. Upskilling is focused on helping employees become more knowledgeable and develop new competencies that relate to their current position, while reskilling is about equipping people to switch lanes and move into new roles within the organization. In either case, the most important factor to consider are people, and with people comes generational diversity. The term diversity and inclusion don't mean the same thing, but are often paired together. Diversity is not just limited to race and ethnicity, but it includes gender, sex, socioeconomic background, age, ability, upbringing, religion, education, sexual orientation, neurodiversity, and overall life experience of the person. This is the first time in history that we have 5 generations working together, which makes it even more important for organizations to understand these generational differences and set them apart when upskilling and reskilling their people. With such a huge array of backgrounds and life experiences, how then should content designers approach this diverse group of learners? In her book, Gentelligence, Dr. Megan Gerhardt shares her expertise on how generational diversity creates opportunities within personal and professional worlds. Unlike other stereotypical diversity constructs, Gentelligence rejects this kind of typecasting and replaces it with a deep understanding of why those who grew up in different times may behave in unique and valuable ways. People from different generations bring different expectations and life experiences to the workplace. Here you can see how there is a clear divide between digital immigrants and digital natives. It is important to understand how each generation has its unique set of traits, characteristics, and values, and these differences impact the way people learn. Now, to complicate things a little, let's throw in technology into this mix and see how these different generations adapt and learn. The possibilities of billions of people connected by mobile devices with unprecedented processing power, storage capacity, and access to knowledge are unlimited. Now, imagine these unlimited possibilities with the backdrop of emerging technology breakthroughs like AI, robotics, Internet of Things, 3D printing, nanotechnology, and more. The scope is mind boggling. I'm sure you'll agree, as content designers, it is extremely challenging to create content keeping in mind such a large deviation both in technology available and the learner profiles. This is when learning trajectories and tax, which comes as a huge relief, especially in today's day and age where everything is changing constantly. Human memory is a remarkably complex cognitive function and is inherently intertwined with all other aspects of cognition, which shapes our thoughts and behaviors as we interact with the world around us. When designing content, remember these stages of how learners perceive and process information. This will help you create the most optimal design, both in terms of technology to use and your learner's natural orientation. Let's look at each stage. Stage one, attention. This is the filter through which we experience the world. We're constantly bombarded by sensory information, but we attend only to a small part of it. Think about it. We're constantly processing sight, sound, smell, but our attention selects only a small fraction of it for conscious consumption. Our brain filters this information to attenuate some and amplify the rest. The pieces of information our brain amplifies is what eventually sits in our memory. So, in a sense, attention is a process of selection and is the gateway to what we think about and remember. In other words, what we pay attention to is what we learn. So, the next time you're designing an online course or a game or a fully immersive user experience, ask yourself what your attention prods should be. What in your training environment is going to capture the learner's attention? Creating nano learning is key here. Research shows how attention spans are shrinking, and there is always something competing for our time. Nano learning describes a new edtech concept where we can get ultra bite sized lessons exactly when and where we need them. Under this paradigm, it doesn't matter if we don't even remember what we've learned for more than 10 minutes, because when we need to use that knowledge again, we can simply relearn it. Stage 2, encoding. Once the information passes through the gateway of attention, our brain encodes it against information we already know. Our brain either writes new experiences or attaches a new experience to the old one. Now, this is where you need to be cognizant of intelligence and the level of digital literacy of our audience. Because we can only contextualize our surroundings through our prior knowledge. Pay special attention here to what your foundations and building blocks will be when you're designing content, as the learner's experience and engagement is going to depend on how their brain encodes the information. Step 3, storage. Once our brain has encoded the information, there is a life cycle of its own that the information goes through, which is called storage. Assuming we never think about the new information again, the brain undergoes a kind of a triage, rehearsing some information on its own but forgetting most. If you never actively think of experiences or learning, they will fade over time in your memory. But if you felt a strong impression on you, either out of interest or shock, then chances are its memory will last longer and with more detail. So, in a way, our memory is a storage is depending on the strength of the encoding, which makes it critical for content designers to scaffold the learning in a way where there are constant attention prods that sit well with the learner's past knowledge and experience and is close to their heart. So they are forced to bring it up to their conscious memory. Stage 4, retrieval. This is a tricky one because it's actually the last stage, but also the first stage in a sense. This retrieval of past memories or experiences is both the end and the beginning of the learning cycle. For retrieving something from memory brings it back into attention, re encoding it, and starting the cycle of learning again. The more you repeat the process, making it more a part of your prior knowledge, the more likely you will recognize it and direct your attention to it at future exposures. This is what we call the power of recaps as reinforcement in design. Constant reinforcements help retention. Remember, almost everything we do or know, we learn through these stages. For our learning is memory, and the bulk of our memory is influenced by these four processes: what we pay attention to, how we encode it, what happens to it in storage, and when and how we retrieve it. Now that we have an understanding on where technology is heading, for your learners. The arrival of mixed reality and the metaverse is shaping a new environment where physical and virtual objects are integrated at different levels. The surge in portable embodied devices, together with highly interactive physical virtual connectors, has given us a landscape which is evolving into new types of hybrid experiences. However, the boundaries between these new realities, technologies, and experiences have not yet been clearly established either by researchers or practitioners. There is an interesting paper published in the Journal of Business Research which states a new taxonomy of technologies called the Epicube. This cube allows content architects like you and me to classify all technologies, current and potential, which might support or empower learner experiences while also producing new experiences along the learner's journey. The EPI Cube integrates the different disciplines related to ICT. The idea here is to help understand what impact this technology has on the end user experiences, answering the question, how has technology changed the way people learn? An outcome of which will be for content designers to have a handy tool to decide on the most appropriate technology for valuable end user journeys. With this, we come to the 5 biggest technology trends published by Forbes. Ubiquitous computing, Internet of Things, datafication of our world, AI, and extended reality. Let's look at some real life applications for each of these. Ubiquitous computing. Now, computers are all around us, in our pockets, on our wrist, in our cars, even our household appliances. As processing power has increased and the size of microchips has shrunk, we've quickly become used to computers and devices getting smaller, lighter, cheaper, and more powerful. The average smartphone today is more powerful than the supercomputers we had only 10 years ago. How does this change the way we learn today? The impact of ubiquitous computing on learning is not confined within technical dimension. Besides its technical facilitation, this new computing paradigm also challenges humans' belief on learning and compels us to rethink the design of learning and resources and environments. The ULE or ubiquitous learning environment is established on a combination between the real world, virtual space, personal space, and shared space. Let's look at trend number 2, Internet of Things. In the future, anything that can be connected will be, not just in terms of devices and products, although it is obviously a key consideration for businesses, but also the spaces in which we live and work, from smart connected factories and offices to entire smart cities. The spaces around us will increasingly be equipped with the ability to monitor what's going on and act accordingly. Wearables demand is huge in the market today, and all devices, whether your smartphones, your smartwatches, Fitbits, are all connected to the internet, is a part of the Internet of Things. This is the famous motive ring, which helps monitor heart rate and sleep tracking. Trend number three, the datafication of our world. Now, what do personalized and adaptive learning, chatbot for education, automatic translators, or use of predictive learning analytics have in common? All of them are components of data driven education. In many countries today, there is a clear interest in expanding the role of digital technologies in education, which inevitably is leading towards a more data intensive education systems. Trend number four, AI. All the data being generated is the core enabler for AI. The ongoing deployment of software powered and self learning algorithms is capable of becoming better and better at whatever task is assigned to. Adjusting learning based on an individual learner's particular needs has been a priority for content designers for years. But AI will allow a level of differentiation that's impossible for content designers. There are several countries, such as Content Technologies, Carnegie Learning, currently developing intelligent instruction design and digital platforms that use AI to provide learning, testing, and feedback for learners from pre K to college level that gives them the challenges they're ready for, identifies gaps in knowledge, and redirects new topics when appropriate. As AI gets more sophisticated, it might be possible for a machine to read the expression that passes on a learner's face that indicates they are struggling to grasp a subject and will move the lesson to respond to them. Trend number five, extended reality. XR is an umbrella term representing the spectrum of immersive technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality, and promises to create more immersive and engaging learning opportunities. This is essential in an age where it's said that attention spans are dropping and we are becoming accustomed to absorbing information in ultra fast, bite sized, and attention grabbing chunks. Let's look at some real world applications. Entertainment and gaming. Camera tracking and real time rendering are combined to create an immersive virtual environment, allowing players close to real life experiences. XR also allows for multi-purpose studio environments, thus reducing the cost of elaborate movie sets. Training. Extended reality allows employees to be trained and educated in low-risk virtual environments, be it medical students, surgeons, firefighters, pilots, chemists. They can closely simulate risky scenarios with minimal risk and much less expense. And the experience that they gain will prove invaluable when they handle real life situations. Extended reality can enable technicians to focus on tasks without having to flip the pages of a manual. It can also connect a expert remotely to the real time issue for expert advice. In healthcare, it can allow surgeons to visualize the complexities of organs in 3D, enabling them to plan each complicated surgery well in advance. Essentially, it is ensuring that surgeons can perform surgeries in a safe, effective, and precise way. In marketing, extended reality enables marketers to give their consumers a try before you buy experience. It allows consumers to be transported to a place, immerse them in the world that motivates them to explore it. A great example is Cathay Pacific's uses a 360-degree video with hotspots to help potential customers experience the brand firsthand. The key lessons from all of these trends is that we are entering an era of continual and rapid evolution, where multiple tech trends combine and feed into each other and deliver huge changes. For organizations, this means the days of incremental tech upgrades and upskilling of people are gone forever. Continual change is the way of the future. Are you ready for it? I hope you enjoyed this webinar and found it informative. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.